welcome back to the broadcast. As we've been talking about the luck of the Irish this week, are you really lucky, or do you maybe just have a positive outlook on life? Dr. Nia Rios-Doria is here to talk about that and how to change your perspective if you struggle with it a little bit. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. And I'm sure you've met people that they're always happy and they're positive, and you're like, what's going on with them? And a lot has to do with your thoughts. And I will tell you, our thoughts, how we think negatively at times, starts in childhood. You know, what kind of environment did we grow up in? What type of friends do we have now? And society helps us, kind of encourages us to think a certain way sometimes. So it's really breaking that habit of thinking negatively to have that positive outlook. When I work with many women that come in and they're anxious and they're negative, we look at their negative thought process and what are they thinking. And there are 10 cognitive distortions is what I call them. And once we realize their thoughts and what they're doing, we're able to work on changing that thought process. But they have to be aware that they're thinking this way. So it's kind of like playing that old tape, stopping it, and putting a new tape in. That's our goal.
How do you put a new tape in?
Okay, so the first thing is when you have that negative thought, you have to figure out, okay, which one that is. I'm going to go over 5 of the cognitive distortions because we don't have time for 10. The first one is that mental filter. You pick out a single negative detail and you dwell on it. For example, as moms, let's say you're getting ready for that birthday party. You've done everything, but you forgot that one thing you wanted to do. And all you do is you dwell on the one thing you didn't do for your son or your daughter, and it makes the whole birthday experience not good because you're just dwelling on that. And that's the mental filter. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is disqualifying the positive. Let's say a friend comes over and she's like, hey, you look great. And in your head you're thinking, I don't feel great. I just put on 2 pounds, you know.
I feel fat, right.
And you're just looking at the negative and not focusing on the good things, the positive. So that's one of the other ones. Another one I think that we're all guilty of doing as women, and maybe men, but I think more so women, is jumping to conclusions. We're already, you know what I'm saying? You already laughed.
Yeah.
You know what that
I know exactly
what do you think that is?
I saw a thing once that said, I don't jump to conclusions, I dive into them like a boss. That's me.
Which is a really bad thing that women do a lot.
Totally.
We do. We just forecast. We think we can forecast the future.
We forecast, and there's two types. There's the mind reading, like let's say you pass a coworker and you said hi to them and they ignored you, and you're thinking, why'd they ignore me? Are they mad at me? You know, you start thinking all these things. And so that's one of those things you have to stop yourself and say, maybe they're just having a bad day or they didn't notice me, but not allow yourself to go to that.
Or just don't take things personally. Like, it's not always all about you. Like in the 4 agreements, that's one of the agreements. Don't take things personally. It's the hardest one to do.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Because you mind read. What are they thinking? Why did they say that? Why did they do that? So that's one. The fortune teller, we can do this with our children, is if maybe your teen lied to you for the first time. You're like, why did my teen lie to me? Oh, what if what if they do drugs?
What if they end up in jail? And what if they don't go to college? And what if where did I go wrong?
They're going to fail. They're going to drop out. And and it's recognized. And that's another one that we do often.
And I think that makes you start to perpetuate. And I believe that that what you think is what you will create. And so I always try not to go to that negative place, even though it's so hard.
But we all do it. Like, there's times like, I'll have a negative thought. Oh, wait, you know, that's an irrational thought. I call it a cognitive distortion. It's an irrational thought. And it's really recognizing that's what it is. Another one we do is we label. We label ourselves. I'm a bad mother because of so-and-so. I'm feeling guilty because of so-and-so. And you just put that label on yourself. And one of the things I do is say, okay, write down that. Let's say you said I'm a bad mother. Okay. Well, what things have you done that are right? And I make them make a list of the things they've done right to discount that irrational thought. And then it reduces that negative thought they originally thought and believed 100%. It's reduced to about maybe 20%.
So is the key writing it on paper? Because I know sometimes if I have a negative thought and then I want to erase it, sometimes my brain is so strong, it just keeps going back to that negative thought. Like, how can you get that head to change that thought? Is it writing it down?
Yes. Well, on the exercises I do, you'd write down their thought, and then you'd look at all the cognitive distortions, saying, okay, now where's this at? It could be labeling, it could be fortune telling, it could be a few things, but then you're recognizing, okay, this is not the right way to think, and I need to discount this. So then we create a positive thought that's going to counteract that, but you have to believe whatever that positive thought is. And then if you believe it like maybe 90%, it'll probably reduce that I'm a bad mom or whatever that is up to a lot less.
You have to have the intention behind it. You can't just lip service your way through everything.
You can't, but I will tell you, it is so effective. Cognitive behavioral therapy, that's what I do a lot with anxiety, with with just having that, making yourself feel better, be more happy and positive in life. Those are some great things you can do.
You always have fantastic tips. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing it with us today. You can find out more about Dr. Nina by going to thebroadcasttv.com. Click on today's links. This is probably one of those good segments to watch over again. And we are back with more broadcast right after this.